Hello there, Vic Benedict here. We're playing Castlevania Lords of Shadow for the PC, and this is my no upgrade run / no damage guide and walkthrough. We're currently on Installment 9, which corresponds to Chapter 9, as you can probably well imagine, in the game's travel book. And Chapter 9 has 3 subchapters, one of which is a stage called the Music Box, which has 0 enemies in it, so I won't be including it because there aren't any fights. No enemies, no fights, and we're making some good progress here in this game. We're in, I think this is called Woe's Moor. You've got some burrowers here, headless burrowers, as I believe they're called. And holy water here works wonders, but since I didn't have any, I had to use direct strikes, and the lock-on here is pretty poor, and it should be noted that this fight has no checkpoint, so if you die or get hit or have anything undesirable happen to you, you'll have to start the stage over, and it kind of takes a while to get back to this place because you have some platforming to do with your new Seraph shoulders, which are the wings that we use to double jump. So we're gonna take these last guys out. You notice that you do a quick time event, which I guess it's not even a quick time event. You just grab them and nothing happens except an animation, which I think should have been an option to take the quick time events off in this game, like in the sequel. And after this we'll do another fight, which I think is optional, but since we're including all the fights in this guide, we have to do it. So I inadvertently picked up a magic gem, which I didn't want to get, but since I only have 3 of the 5, it's not going to upgrade for me, so we're all good. And then we'll have another fight coming up with a cave troll and some lesser trolls. And then the bulk of this video will be the next stage, which I decided to keep pretty much the entire chapter in because of the presence of mandragoras. If you remember, the mandragoras were in the maze gardens a few installments back. I think it was a few back. And it's pretty much an environmental hazard of an enemy that you can get away with no damaging it, but it takes a lot of patience because you have to do the quick time events constantly on these enemies, and there's a lot of them. So I decided that it was in the best interest of the guide to keep the entire chapter in. Anytime I do the quick time events on the mandragoras, it's going to be pretty much in bulk, so I decided to fast forward everything. And you don't have to worry, there's no concealing of anything going on. It's just too much to sit through, so I decided to speed it up. This cave troll, if you back him into the wall here, he does nothing until he's almost dead. In fact, right there he did absolutely nothing, but after you subdue him, you'll mount him, and then we'll be using him to break down this wall, or those rocks at the very least, and be taking out these guys. Oh, if you don't know, if you haven't played the game or haven't been following what's happening, you really couldn't because of the edits, so I apologize about that. But our powers have, I think for the 3rd time, been stolen from us. I think it's been 3 times. We'll definitely have our power stolen once again, I know that. Okay, so I had to pause right there because I had a black screen sitting in front of me for a few seconds. I'm sorry about that. It's been kind of a recurring thing with these videos for some reason. But here's the Scarecrow, the first of the 3 Scarecrows. It's an enemy made completely of wood, but as the game says, it's dangerous besides. And it's got a roll which is very fast and dangerous because, well, for our purposes, it's going to end our session. But I don't know if they're a little bit different from one another, but not extremely different. It doesn't feel it feels like it's a little different, but it also feels like it's not just a copy and paste every few times. Okay, so this will be the first time. See, we've got the first key. Now we're going to move this roost, or shake it at the least, and have this happen here. And we're going to go to that location, but there are mandragoras in the way. So we're going to start speeding this stuff up with fast forward. So remember, when you grab these guys, Just move the analog in any direction and then press any of the 4 face buttons, A, B, Y, or X. And that was a pretty small mob at first. And I think there's about 5 mobs in total of those guys. So we're going to come up here, we're going to shake this roost to get the new flock down there. And as we go back, I think there's another small mob here. So you've just got to go off reflex on these guys, you guys. Sometimes the music is a little late to kick in. You know, the enemy, the danger music, as I like to call it. The dangerous music, letting you know that there's enemies. Sometimes you just have to keep your eyes peeled for these guys because they're... with this grab, it's very safe. It's just, do you have patience or not? It's just one of those situations. So once you've killed those guys, we're gonna just continue moving these. The nice thing about the scarecrows, though, aside from like the dash that they have, and they have a spike attack too, where they send spikes up from the ground. Their primary attacks are all blockable and all parryable, so you don't have to have a huge amount of reacting and reflexes for this enemy. But it's still fast. Okay, so as we come back here to get this roost moving, there are more of these guys. So what is that, the 3rd mob so far? And you might think to yourself, why not just throw holy water? It's just not safe enough. I've tried it so many times. It's good for killing them, but like when you're killing them, you're getting damaged too. Like, I know it sounds kind of ironic, but it's just the potential to get hit is just too high with it. Just trust me, I've tested it both ways. So here I'm kind of just spamming the right trigger to see if I can throw any of these guys in the vicinity, because you can't move the camera for yourself. It's fixed camera, which I think serves this game very well. So the idea behind these roosts is that they don't share roosts, so if they run up to those ones, then they'll move to a different location rather than going back to the roost that they came from. Okay, so here's the second scarecrow fight. The checkpoints are really nice on these guys. They put you right in the fight. So as you can see, it's the primary attack is their left hand that they use for their swings. Even though he did a right-handed attack right there. There is the dash that they do, that little roll across the screen. You might think roll to the left or to the right rather than jump, as I did right there. Didn't I jump? I think I jumped. You'll see me roll in the next fight, though. I don't really have a preference per se, but I do think that in the next fight it's fine to roll. Even though in that fight that we just did, it might be better to jump. So it's up to you as you play. So we've done that fight. Now we're going to move back to where we were before and do a little bit more roost manipulation, but we have another mob springing up. This is the second to last mob. And they really aren't that dense either, the mobs. And it's nice because when you damage one, then the explosion of his head exploding deals damage. You know, the splash damage, as it were. And also, I should say that this is in no means a definitive way of moving these roosts, because you're supposed to do it in 13 turns for the trial, and I just can't remember how to do it. It's extremely specific. You cannot make one error. Okay, so as we come in here, they're going to kind of freeze you in place. But you're not really vulnerable to attacks because they can't move either, really. I mean, they can't attack, they can move a little bit, as you saw right there. And this will be the final wave. Okay, so that mob's done. We're going to move the roosts. You just take this enemy for granted when you're playing. You know, You just kind of just eat the damage and not even pay attention to it very much because it's such a minor thing. Just... Anyway. So we're going to continue moving these roosts. And we'll be doing the next fight, the last fight. The last fight took me the longest for some reason. I had a problem doing it. And it was mainly, I don't think I ever failed to parry. It was just, well, maybe a couple times, but it was mainly the spikes that he kept sending up, as well as that roll across the screen. I think that got me every time. You have to really prepare for it, but it comes so fast too. That's the problem. See, the camera does kind of back away, like it. How do I describe that? It kind of pulls out a little bit, I think is what is a good way to describe it. It pulls out a bit. So you know what's coming. It's just reacting to it, I guess. But yeah, pretty troublesome enemy. In the past, I just did ultimate attacks on him, so I never really fought it. I think that's a mistake. They shouldn't have those ultimate powers in this game. Because you end up not playing the game. Even though you still play the game plenty. You know what I mean, though? Or maybe they should have been nerfed, you know? But anyway, we've taken him out. And now we have one more thing left to do, which is just to get back to the old witch's house. And there are some Mandragoras in our way. But as I was sprinting back, I noticed them out of the corner of my eye, but I decided to make a break for it. And that's been the entirety of Installment 9, a pretty tricky chapter, but we were able to persevere and push through. And I would like you guys to do one thing and one thing only, and that is to take care.